Hello and welcome back everyone to this another video of learning something from history that we have been not clearly taught in our schools. Okay, now I am a millennial, so I have attended my school in the 90s, early 2000s when I think it was an era of modernizing, so to speak, in their language. But in a way, it was a Trojan horse designed to take us away from our roots, take us away from reality. In a way, it was a psyop. Okay, it was a matrix attack. I don't know if that's the right word, but yes, let's use it right now because we don't have a better word. All right. So let's come to a very commonsensical conclusion or something that the younger generation must be taught. Okay, something that they must be learning in from their history textbooks, understanding from their history teachers. But I have been an educator, a teacher in a school since last 5 years. I've met many social science, history, geography teachers where they don't openly talk about certain things because it has been made politically incorrect. So I think a lot of our students, even students, know from within that there are certain things that are right, there are certain things that are obvious, but you do not talk about them publicly because it might hurt some sentiments. Regardless, today we are going to talk about transfer of power and democratic legitimacy. Okay, this is very commonsensical. The words might seem that they are very difficult to understand or they are some complicated words, but that is not the case. Let me deconstruct it layer by layer so it becomes clear for you. By the way, this is something that I really stick to. This is the stepping stone if we are to establish a proper republic, a proper democracy in Bharat. This is the first thing that we must rectify. All right. So a lot of people, they like to use the word independence. Independence meaning that we gained freedom in 1947. So that would imply that there was no external influence in the molding and shaping of democracy that happened after 47. Okay, that is what independence and freedom must entail. But that is not the case. So there was a legal instrument through which transfer of power was actuated or power was given to us. All right. So if you compare it with the contemporary democracy that we have, if the central government wants to make a law, it will pass through the Lok Sabha and then the Rajya Sabha, lower house, upper house, and then it will be proclaimed as a law. Okay. So in 47, we did not have our own parliament. So where exactly was this law drafted? In the UK Parliament. Who drafted that law? That is the Independence Act of 1947, an act through which our independence or our freedom was actuated or was given executive authority. Okay, so it was drafted by the British. All right, there was no consultation process whatsoever. Okay, we were not consulted about the words, about the clauses or whatever it is that they discussed. It was discussed in the UK Parliament, it was passed in the UK Parliament, and on top of that, to become a law, it did receive, it was okayed by the Prince or the Queen at that time, the monarchy in the UK at that time. Okay, so the aforementioned freedom or independence that we like to say isn't really freedom or independence, it's simply just transfer of power. Okay, now a lot of people, they'll say that, oh, no, what these things don't matter now. We are in the 21st century, the modern world. It absolutely matters. All right. If at the root or if the very beginning of the democracy or the contemporary democracy that Bharat is right now, if at the very beginning we started with a lie, we have been lied to all these years. All right. So we must urgently and promptly rectify that lie. Okay, so to prove that, this is some analysis that I had done from Perplexity, that is an AI model. You can do this yourself. All right, so here the relevant law, if you look at this, it was passed by the British Parliament, House of Commons and House of Lords. We had nothing to do with it. King George, he gave the royal assent. Okay, now who voted for this? Okay, we have this like whenever if you want to make something into a law, we will have our legislators, that is the members of parliament, vote for an act to become a law after discussion. So those are the people who have been elected by us and they vote on our behalf. Who exactly voted for the Independence Act of 1947? Let's see. Standard procedure of a British public bill. Now, what is a British public bill? A bill introduced for the welfare or the good or flourishment or furthering the cause of the British Empire. Okay, so it was introduced, and the standard procedure that it followed was British public bill. Introduction, debate, and voting in House of Commons, House of Lords, followed by royal assent. Okay, who the members were and how were they elected? The members, who are exactly the people who voted for that act, that is the Independence Act of 1947. Members who voted in Westminster were British members of Parliament and peers. There were no representatives. So in a way, we are operating under this act since 1947, an act that was passed in a foreign parliament. Are we really sovereign? That makes you want to question these things, right? Now there will be some people, in fact a lot of history teachers have made this argument with me, because I don't sit, like I will usually question history teachers about certain things, and that will tell me what are their political leanings or whatever. Okay, very recently at the school where I teach, I asked the history teacher about Taliban in Afghanistan, and he just bluntly accepted that he's okay with Taliban ruling Afghanistan. There's nothing wrong with it, and he was very prompt to find loopholes and shortcomings in the democracy of Bharat, but he was perfectly fine with Taliban style government in Afghanistan. Yes, he is a Muslim, so fine, that's besides the point. So here, who are the people who voted? Not us. So the origin of the bill was in the UK. The people who voted, debated, all were British. Okay, the act was passed by the king. So how does that make us a sovereign country? That is the question that you must ask. If you are a student who is watching this video, I am encouraging you to ask this question to your history teachers. Okay, ask them, if the laws of the independence that is in 47 was passed in such and such manner, it was passed in the Westminster Parliament, how come, or how is it that we were a sovereign country? That is what you must ask yourself, or your teachers, not yourself, but teachers. Sure, let's see. Now this is the second angle that we explore, because there will be certain people, and in fact we have a lot of people, okay, they are still operating under the assumption that whatever they were taught as history in school is correct, and there are quite a few of them. Okay, there are people who are unwilling and people who don't want to see what exactly is the truth, despite knowing within themselves that what is the truth. All right, so let's look at this second point, role of the parliamentary bodies in our country. I don't like to use the word India because again, there is a lot of ignorance and unawareness about the word India or Indian, and what does it mean or what does it imply. It has no organic origins in any of our vernacular languages whatsoever. All right, so yes, if you're okay with the name India, I think you have a lot to learn about what it means and what it stands for. But the name that I frequently use is Bharat, or if I want to address or if I want to talk to people as fellow countrymen, I would like to use the word nation or nationals. So if you look at here, the Independence Act of 1947 was not passed by any legislature or parliamentary body located in Bharat. It was solely an act of the Parliament of UK. Okay, so Parliament is the edifice through which the sovereignty of a nation takes shape and flows. Okay, so the parliamentary body that was established, based on the act that was introduced, debated, and assented to by a foreign country. How can that country be a sovereign nation? By the way, towards the end of this video, we are going to draw examples from European nations themselves. How did they become independent and how did they exercise their sovereignty? Because there will be students, there will be people out there who will say that no, how does it matter? We'll take some examples. Okay, no central legislature, blah blah blah, passed. There was no formal passing or enacted the Independence Act. We simply just assented to it. They gave us an act and we simply just adopted it without even discussing it, without amending it, without omitting anything that we didn't like, blah blah blah. Did natives of Bharat have any say? Now, this is also again a very big misunderstanding, something, a well concocted lie that was told to us. Okay, we are told that Congress, that the only political party at that time in the 1900s, right up until the time of transfer of power in 47, was the sole representative of the nation of Bharat. And you cannot be far away from truth. That is utter bullshit. It's, yeah, for the lack of a better word, because people who occupied the Congress offices, people who occupied the Constituent Assembly, weren't exactly elected directly by the people. They were indirectly elected. There was no public opinion, there was no public mandate, there was nothing. Now, there will be some people who will come out here and say that, oh, but at that time we did not have facilities, we did not have such educated people. So, what's stopping you from doing that right now? Right now we have education, right now we have a strong economy. What's stopping us from establishing a truly sovereign nation, a truly sovereign nation state? That is a question that we must ask. Okay, whatever destiny, whatever troubles or whatever trials and tribulations that our nation, the nation of Bharat had to pass through in the past centuries or millennia, so to say. Okay, but that is over now. All right, what's stopping us now? That is the question that we must ask. Now here, bodies such as Constituent Assembly gained full sovereign legislative authority for the Dominion only after 15th August 47 as a consequence of the Act. So when did the Constituent Assembly become a sovereign body? After the Independence Act of 47 was passed in the Parliament of Westminster. Right, so are we really sovereign? To this very day, that's the question that we must ask. Did the natives have any say? No. Not a formal vote in the British legislative process. Okay, let's say representative bodies. The Constituent Assembly, set up in 46 under the Cabinet Mission Plan, was an indirectly elected body. Okay, there was no direct elections. People did not vote. The leaders of the Congress did not stand for the nation of Bharat. Okay, there were simply just opportunistic politicians who were simply vying for political power after the British vacated their office. There, I said it. Okay, this is the truth. Okay, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Alright, and to this very day, that is the game of politics that has extended or survived as a colonial legacy. You're only supposed to play for power. That is what the British style politics is about. Be politically correct and try to seize as much power as you can while you are at it. That is how the politics of our nation has been shaped. There is no decent political party who is trying for national unification or somehow consolidating the nation and becoming a true sovereign nation state in that manner. So that's it for this video. I don't want it to be too long enough. I just want it to be long enough to raise certain questions. Okay, now this video was simply to get you aware about certain facts and certain trivia that is out there in the public domain, but we do not discuss it enough. Okay, take these topics to your offices, take these topics to your schools, take these topics to the cafes where you meet your friends for discussion, and get this discussion started. Because if we don't discuss about this, we'll still live as a subsidiary sovereign nation state to the Western powers, because that is what has been happening since 47. The British might not be here, but they still live inside our heads. All right, so the only solution or the only way forward that I see right now is getting the discussion started. The more people are aware about this, the more they will realize that still they are not truly living in a sovereign nation state. They're simply just living in a state where the power was transferred from the colonial rulers to the native rulers, who were simply opportunistic politicians who were vying for political offices. Why? Because they had seen, when you have an office of power, how exactly do you live and what are the perks and privileges that it brings. Right? So get this discussion started. How exactly do we justify us being a democracy when we are functioning under the act that was passed in the parliament of a different country? think. And thank you for watching. Check out my other social media platforms such as Instagram, X. I've written some wonderful articles over there as well. You can check out my LinkedIn profile to look at my professional work summary. Thank you for watching.